Well, it is official. This is the best warrior leveling build in Path of Exile 2. It's going to let you level up fast, be super powerful, and overall just have a really fun time playing. This league is pretty insane. What's awesome is it takes some of the best things like Leap Slam and Bone Shatter for insane AoE clear across your entire screen, and ups them with the addition now of using multiple of the same types of support gems or things like Perfect Strike, Hammer of the Gods, and even Forge Hammer to allow us to just create a ton of fissures completely for free with insane amount of aftershocks. So many that you can literally just jump around the map, clear everything in your way, and never even have to look back or worry. It does insane damage, and I'll show you the early setup so you can get this going on the right path. Basically, let me show you the playstyle and rotation first so you can get an idea of how insanely quick and awesome this build is, and then I'll show you how to fully set it up. Ideally, we're going to be using our Leap Slam to just obviously jump around the map at very insane speeds. But one of the cool things about this is you get tons of free fissures and tons of free aftershock damage with the green jade spikes that you can see, and you can basically have these proc almost every single time you jump once you get your ascendancy for your Titan spec'd out. Again, this means our Leap Slam does a ton of damage by itself, even early on in the campaign, can clear mob packs completely without doing anything else. Now with this build, we're creating tons of stun buildup, so if you happen to not kill enemies directly with your Leap Slam, you can immediately bone shatter any enemy around you because again, our stun buildup is insane. Not to mention our stun buildup for our regular mace strike is insane. You can see here not only that, but our DPS is as well. You can see our stun buildup cannot reach 100% because we're using the Brink 2 or Brink 1 support gem, which is exactly what you want because you don't want to over stun enemies to the point you heavy stun them. You want to keep them with that little glowing orb above their head so that way you can bone shatter any enemy that you hit if you don't kill them. You can see here, even with our current setup, we're at 1500% extra physical stun buildup modifier, and that goes the same with our Leap Slam. Even with our Leap Slam, our fire stun and our physical stun buildup modifier is 1600 and 1000 respectively. That way we get every enemy on our screen to be able to be heavy stunned with our bone shatter by hitting them literally one time, and then we can bone shatter all of them to just completely destroy them. Now again, those are primarily for clearing. For rares and bosses, early on you get access to Perfect Strike. Until then you use something like Rolling Slam or just your regular mace strike, but once we get access in the middle of the campaign to Perfect Strike, but also buffed by Infernal Cry. So essentially again, we're just going to Infernal Cry. We're going to use our Perfect Strike and strike enemies with our perfect timing, meaning that red glowy release that you're getting on your weapon. Make sure you hit them when that glow finishes and you will get the most amount of damage. Again, as we continue to level up, we're going to utilize Perfect Strike and Hammer of the Gods both, and we are essentially going to run this combo. We're going to throw down our Forge Hammer immediately. Now our Forge Hammer, keep in mind, shatters into molten fissures when we use a War Cry. That's why we're going to throw this down first. We'll then pop our Seismic Cry. What this is going to actually do is empower your Slam or your Hammer of the Gods, which again already does insane damage. But specifically, if you look right here, if an enemy is heavy stunned or a currently heavy stunned enemy is hit, this skill empowers subsequent slams to perform an additional aftershock. And keep in mind, these are going to be empowered and do extra damage. So again, we throw down our Forge Hammer, cast our Seismic Cry. This will heavy stun the enemies, so that way our Hammer of the Gods will hit and proc additional aftershocks as well. And then while your Hammer of the Gods is descending upon their face, you can actually then use your Infernal Cry, begin to load up some Perfect Strikes because now they're empowered, and you're able to combo both of these to essentially heavy stun an enemy. As soon as you get them ready to be heavy stunned, drop the Forge Hammer, drop the Seismic Cry, drop the Hammer of the Gods on their head, buff up your Perfect Strike, and then Perfect Strike them, and you will be hitting with an insane amount of damage with every single one of your combos, easily in the level 70s, doing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of damage with a single hit. But first, if you haven't tried G2A.com, you should. G2A is the place I use to get all of the best games and software super easy at super great deals and discounts. During early September, G2A is running some crazy deals like they've never ran before on games and software. Some deals so low, I've never even seen them. Not only that, but G2A has security as a top priority. G2A beats out security for any other marketplace sites in a lot of different areas. Especially when it comes to things like fraud, G2A performs way better than the industry average. With integration in the top security solutions like SentinelOne, G2A has some of the securest and fastest transactions with over 400 plus different global and local payment channels. Every seller is verified through a very intense vetting process. It's safe, secure, super easy, and some of the best deals on the market, especially during early September. Make sure to check out one of the most trusted gaming marketplaces for games and software, g2a.com, down in the description. Thanks G2A for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back to it. Now, next for our passive tree, just one quick look. You can see we're currently running Titan, and honestly, that's what I prefer, especially with the whole Aftershock build. You kind of need it. So really quickly, I'll show you the skills we're planning on taking for the Titan Ascendancy. This is going to be these increased strength nodes into hulking form for 50% increased effect of your small passive skills. Trust me, that's going to give you a bunch of extra damage, skills, and just everything in general. Eventually, what we'll want to end up doing is taking a life regeneration and mysterious lineage once we unlock our other ascendancies. This will give us 15% more max life, but also 2 points here for extra increased area of effect for slam skills, and Earthbreaker for additional 25% chance for your slam skills to cause aftershocks. Combining this with the rest of the ones I'm going to show you and some of your support gems for aftershock chance, you can get this to like 90% to almost guarantee an aftershock every time. Now, early on, we're just going to want to take the melee damage nodes. We'll also want to branch over here and take the increased armor from equipped body armor. Early on, if you take this is a big help defensively to keep you from dying. We'll take some of the damage nodes over here, and then you can skip these early, but even if you don't, they're extra damage. You can definitely come back and take these, as well as you can come back and take these and prioritize other things. I like this because of the extra skill speed, but again, you don't have to worry about this until a little bit later. We're going to come down here and take primarily the two-handed damage passives for additional damage since we're using a two-hander. And then also early on, shockwaves actually will increase your area of effect if you've stunned an enemy with your two-handed weapon. Since we're stunning enemies non-stop, this is going to constantly give us area of effect increase of 25%. And you can choose whether you want to take the empowered attack damage now or a little bit later. But again, this is going to help our perfect strike and our hammer of the gods to deal lots and lots more damage. You can then run right up here and take the resolute technique, so that way our accuracy rating is doubled. And this can help on some of our hits and make sure they don't miss. And as soon as you do that, you want to come right down here and take these attack damage nodes. You can also come right up here, and depending on where you're at, then take these attack damage and area of effect nodes up here. But if you feel like you need defense more, you can alternate them, but then come over here and take this prism guard node. This is going to give us plus 30% of armor. Also applies to elemental damage. This is going to help keep us even tankier. So you can see our armor here, even though it's kind of sucky at 64%. Our estimated damage reduction against those elemental attack types is basically really good. Again, this is going to apply that damage reduction to any incoming elemental damage you receive past your resistance caps. So even early on in the game when you don't have a ton of resistance cap already on your character, I probably ran all the way through Act 4 with like 10% in each because I was able to sustain such a high armor elemental damage reduction. And once you take both of these, I recommend you come up here and take these increased armor nodes, but also these passives to break increased armor. The big thing with breaking armor here is if we actually break the armor, it breaks it for 12 seconds, and we'll be taking enough armor break passives that we can basically do this to any enemy almost instantaneously. If you fully break their armor, they actually take 20% increased damage from hits. Basically, take these perks, break their armor in one hit, and instantly get a free 20% damage buff. And to make it even better, eventually once we get down here, we're going to take the Molten One's gift, which essentially means we get fire resistance, we get increased effect of fully broken armor, meaning it's even more powerful, and our fully broken armor effect, where it would normally give us a 20% buff to physical damage that you would hit them with, now also applies to your fire damage that you hit them with as well. Meaning we get the best of both worlds, increased damage, an insane amount of increased damage here as well, on top of the extra increased effect of fully broken armor from these nodes, meaning if we can break their armor, which we basically do instantly, we deal so much more damage automatically. So make sure to take this one up here, and as you get to this one down here a little bit later, again, it's really good for scaling your fire damage as well. I would go ahead and recommend jumping down here. You can go ahead and take some of these empowered nodes if you need them to go ahead and help your boss clear a little bit quicker, but then come down here and start taking these mace damage nodes. Again, these are going to give you overall more increased mace damage, but this is going to give you 12% chance for your slam skills to actually create aftershocks. This will give you more chance for aftershocks as well. And then this one over here will give you more damage against heavy stunned enemies. You can take this stuff up here after that if you feel like your defense isn't really an issue. Come up here and take this stun build up. You get break 50% of armor on heavy stunning an enemy and recovering 50% of max life when you heavy stun a rare or unique enemy. Also the increased attack area and attack damage, as well as an additional chance for your slam skills to cause aftershocks. And you also get 3% increased max life here. But also make sure you come down here pretty soon, especially if you feel like you need it defensively, and take these nodes for increased armor, but plus % chance to apply our armor again to elemental damage, roll through the campaign and maps without having to max out our elemental resistances early on. Also early on, especially as you need it defensively, something with defend against 200% of armor and additional strength nodes and armor nodes here are going to be important to take, and you can kind of take these as you feel like you need them. If you level up and you feel like you need more damage, take the damage nodes as you continue on. You feel like you need more defense, start taking some of the defensive nodes. Again, with all of these support gems, as I show you, you can essentially take them in the order that I put them in the slots 1, 2, 3, and 4. Again, the planner is down in the description as well with the Path of Building link to make it a little bit easier for you to read and know which ones to take when. Now, our support gems specifically, as you start the game, you're going to focus on a couple main things. And now I'm level 80, but I'll go kind of over the basics of what you need. So for Mace Strike, ideally early on, right, this is extremely important for us. This is our main damage dealer early. Now we have stun 1 here. There's probably a stun 2, I don't know. But early on, you're going to run stun 1. It's going to give you 50% more stun buildup. The important for this is we're trying to heavy stun enemies with Mace Strike early. So this is one of the first things you need, as well as later on investing into rapid attacks, the level 1 version for increased attack speed, and Brink level 1, which will make it so stun buildup basically cannot reach 100, and you get extra stun buildup on top of that also. This means we can basically hit an enemy in a pack with our Make Strike, cause them to linger on that heavy stun without going over it, and then allowing us to bone shatter and destroy multiple packs at once. So even if you don't get the attack speed early, make sure you take the stun and Brink combo so you can build up stun very quickly and close combat for more overall damage. Next, you'll end up taking bone shatter. This again is going to be our big pack clearing ability. Early on, the first thing you need is Impact Shockwave. This means when you heavy stun an enemy, it basically blows them up in an entire large shockwave. You need this to basically trigger and chain the other shockwaves from the other enemies, and you'll be clearing packs early without an issue. Also, Magnified Area. Now, honestly, I probably could be using the level 1 version here, but you'll need to take the level 1 version anyways. It'll give you 35% increased area of effect, meaning you can clear bigger packs. Then Rapid Attacks. Again, you'll want something for increased attack speed here as you unlock it. And eventually you can get into something like Rage 3 or another support gem. Now that will follow into Leap Slam. Leap Slam, we want obviously to move around the map quicker, but Leap Slam is a huge damage dealer for us that can kill packs of enemies by itself, but also again to build up that stun build up for every enemy involved. Now here we have Brink 1. Again, should be using Brink 2 by now, but you'll want to take Brink 1 and make sure it doesn't go over. We prime every enemy for heavy stun. We bone shatter 1, they all blow up. Early on, I also like rapid attacks. I like taking Crater. This creates 3 fissures on the ground when you land, as well as Fist of War, which means our attacks with supported skills are actually ancestrally boosted. And that means they essentially just do more damage. Now, eventually you could take something like the Aftershock gem here for permanent Aftershock, but for leveling the campaign, speed and making sure enemies don't go over their heavy stun will chain into all the damage you need. Now, Infernal Cry, we're using this again to empower our Perfect Strike, which is needed early on for dealing out big damage to bosses, making your campaign run and early mapping a lot easier. Here we're taking Raging Cry. This is going to help us generate rage, which again gives us free damage. We're also going to take Tireless. That way you have a 25% chance for your attacks, like your Perfect Strike, to not actually use an Empower. Also, we want Cooldown Recovery for increased cooldown recovery rate and Corrupting Cry. Now, Perfect Strike, again, once we unlock this, again, in the campaign, even going into mapping, this is a big extra boss finisher and comboer. This will do insane amounts of damage. To get the most damage with your Perfect Strike, you actually have to wait until that red flash and immediately hit it right after. You can tell if you've done it right by the flames that essentially spit out at the end of the weapon. Now, one specific thing you can take early is Concentrated Area. You have 50% less area of effect, but you get 30% more damage. The same goes for Window of Opportunity with 35% more damage here. Now, the same goes for Close Combat too. This means if you get right up on top of an enemy and Perfect Strike them, you're going to deal 30% more damage as well. Finally, you can take another damage buff here, or Fire Penetration, which actually ignores all of the enemy's fire resistance, which, trust me, can hit really heavy. Next, once you unlock Hammer of the Gods, this is going to be one of our big heavy hitters. Now, whether we're in the campaign or mapping, this can level a boss in one hit, no problem. The big things we take here is Heavy Swing for additional damage. Additionally, we have Aftershock 2. This makes it so we have a 35% chance to cause an Aftershock with all of our other Aftershock buffs, which I'll show you in the skill tree. This means we can basically eventually get up to 90%. Trust me, you want this. Then we have Fist of War, which means our attacks are ancestrally boosted. You can take the earlier versions of this early on in the game. This means we can double our ancestral boost here and do a lot more damage. And then finally, we can use Rage Forge. This will actually take that rage that we're generating with a bunch of our regular skills, but also with things like Bone Shatter, allow us to build up our rage and then consume 10 rage to deal 35% more damage. Those 4 skills alone are going to bump your Hammer of the Gods damage up into the stratosphere, and you can easily hit millions with a single Hammer of the Gods drop. We're also using Forge Hammer here, and you can tune this with Fire Attunement for extra fire damage, Elemental Armament for extra elemental attack damage, and then Fist of War 2, so we can ancestrally boost this as well. Again, this is just going to sit on the ground and go with our slams like our Rolling Slam, our Leap Slam, and our Hammer of the Gods to continually proc these fissures for extra fire damage. Now for Seismic Cry, ideally Raging Cry and some other gems are good here, but you're going to want to use this to buff your Hammer of the Gods. Ideally with Seismic Cry, if you heavy stun an enemy with it or hit them with Seismic Cry while they're heavy stun, your subsequent slams or your subsequent Hammer of the Gods can do additional aftershocks, meaning we can get tons of extra free aftershocks and hits from our Hammer of the Gods big damage ability, giving us millions of damage for free. Also, very, very early on, you want to unlock Herald of Ash. Here you want to put Cannibalism, so that way you get maximum life recovered on kill. This means those big pack clearing kills that you get with Bone Shatter and the explosions from Herald of Ash are going to heal you basically full health every single time. You also want to make sure you have Magnified Area on here as well for additional area of effect for some of these explosions. And then Scavenge Plating with Prolonged Duration. Again, those are all the skills and skill gems. You can take them exactly like I showed them in exact same orders as you unlock the skills. Again, that Path of Building link in the description should have them the exact same way. Now for our gear, all of which again will be in that Path of Building link below, but you're looking for ideally specific things. And some of these pieces obviously aren't perfect. Now, one thing specifically, you can pick any helmet you want. You can wear a regular helmet. For leveling this build, if you can buy a Thrill Steel helmet, I think they're probably going for like 5 Exalted Orbs now, buy a Thrill Steel helmet. You basically get Onslaught, which means you get 20% increased skill speed for every single skill that you have and 10% increased movement speed. Trust me, this will help you through the campaign like no other. Now, early on, you might not have as many options, but for your rings, early on, you can take either physical damage stats, strength, max life, or resistances as well. Resistances is going to be one of your big things, especially for the area that you're going through in the campaign. One thing I would always recommend doing early on, especially when you're early campaign run, every single ring and every single charm, keep it, because different areas, Act 1 has a different boss, Act 2 has the lightning boss. Trust me, keep this stuff for the situation in which you need it. You'll need a lightning charm and a lightning resistance ring as well. And if you can get it double stacked or multiple resistances, that's perfectly great, but prioritize the resistance early on, even in early on mapping, even if you have to give up all of the damage. Trust me, you need it early on. Again, the same overall goes for your amulet. This amulet actually really sucks. I haven't replaced it yet. For your boots, grab increased movement speed boots, whether they're unique boots or regular boots, just upgraded. That's the only main stat you need. Again, take extra resistance, max life, armor here. Also armor that applies to elemental damage. The more of that you get, the tankier you're going to be, but all of these other stats and elemental resistances are nice to have. Now for the belt, again, you want armor, max life, and as many resistances as possible. It's literally all you need. Focus those, and anything extra is great. Again, the max life early on will help you not die quite a lot. The gloves, you want anything from bonus damage on them to max life. Increased attack speed is one of the main things I would look for early on, as well as the increased armor, strength, and armor applies to elemental damage. And then for our weapon, again, you just want the highest DPS here possible. So aim for basically all physical damage as much as possible. You can see here our physical DPS is 506. That's really good. Elemental damage is perfectly fine here, mainly if it's fire. If it's fire damage, you're converting it all perfectly fine, but focus your physical damage as high as possible. Again, you're going to be doing that with a high % increased physical damage buff roll on the actual weapon itself. Increased elemental damage with attacks is another big one you absolutely need. Early on, it's going to be hard to find all this stuff together, but if you can find it, it's a big win because this is going to scale your fire damage, your increased attack speed as well. That's going to make it so we can attack much, much quicker. And then anything with increased stun buildup as well is perfectly fine. And then as you're leveling, either slot in iron runes for additional armor, or basically if you're going to fight a boss or you're mapping or whatever it is early, if you notice you need resistances, just pick a slot, just open up a slot on gear and just start throwing resistance gems in here for the time being, until you can fully spec out your gear later through maps. Again, basically we leap slam across the map, just destroying everything. Anything that's left, we bone shatter and clear the entire rest of the screen while using our very quick mace strike attack when needed to instantly prime enemies for stun, which means we can bone shatter them again. Keeping in mind our mace strike early on, even into mapping, can basically be a one-shot prime for heavy stun to an enemy with all of the stun buildup we have on it and leap slam both. That way we can explode massive packs, but also using our infernal cry to buff our perfect strike or huge hits, and then using our seismic cry to buff Hammer of the Gods for extra damage, extra aftershocks, and then extra aftershocks for basically every skill with our passives that we took in the tree, both regular and for our ascendancy. Also using Forge Hammer to throw that on the ground before we pop any of our war cries to get extra fissure damage with every slam that we perform, while Herald of the Ash blows up extra enemies on top of it, and Scavenge Plating gives us our extra armor for extra survivability. Again, this build does massive damage and is the best leveling build for the warrior. And if you have any suggestions or any comments, let me know down in the description. Like this video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.